Hey y'all, this is Allison hanging out in my space to craft, and I have a really fun page that I'm doing. I called my daughter up here. This is for her album, and I wanted her input on whether this should be a 1-page or a 2-page layout. She voted for all the pictures, so we're gonna do a 2-page layout. So after the wedding, the day after the wedding, we went to drag brunch, and I've never been to a drag show before. I don't know how I got this old and hadn't been to a drag show, but we had a really good time with her brother and sister and another friend of ours. And so we have, of course, you want to take all the fun pictures. So it's very colorful. It was a crazy brunch, and I'm using this 49&Mkt paper, and I've also pulled out some Chamel paper. This one with stars, I think, is appropriate purple, and there's this one with hearts and gold on it. I've got some bits and pieces from Chamel that I think I can make work. Love This Life, brilliant. There's all sorts of good stuff on here. I was thinking if I do a grid of some 2x3s over here, maybe I can incorporate some of these 2x2 items as well. And I was looking at this. This is the front of the Spectrum Gardenia from 49&Mkt. This purple ticket, but there are some other tickets in the laser cut pack that I'm going to use. I'm not sure I'll use these, but look, I've got these tickets, all sorts of cute stuff in here, all the good vibes and more. I think that's perfect for it. Some of these bits might work over here on the grid, and these film strips I loved as well. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Hey Reese, why don't you say hi? Put your hand in there. Look, she has gorgeous nails. I have icky nails. So she's hanging out with me while I scrapbook, which is rare, but it makes me happy. I only have a few more weeks with her. So I'm gonna speed up probably from here on out, and let's see how these pages come together. All right, so I spent quite a bit of time on these 2 pages, kind of the opposite of the last page that I did. I was a little indecisive about how to incorporate the star paper on everything, and then I went off and made a couple of 2x3 tags, not tags, but pieces to add into this matrix. And I ended up, I think it was 2 hours probably. So I've sped up the video quite a bit to eliminate that a bit. Not eliminate, but to speed up that process, so that you don't have to watch all of the my indecision necessarily. At some point, so I had trimmed these photos, but I do end up adding white border to them because I wasn't happy with the way they were looking on the page. So here I'm thinking about what I want to mat this photo with. And I love this sort of polka dot paper, but you can't tell that it's polka dots when you're doing a tiny little border. So I pull a pink that's in, it's in that paper, but it's in, there's a lot of pink ephemera and stuff with this Spectrum Gardenia kit, even though it doesn't look like that pink on this paper, but there's a couple of different pinks involved. And, you know, the pictures are pretty vibrant. There's a lot of purple in them, which is kind of why I picked this paper, because I love the purple. I loved the ombre effect, kind of an ombre rainbow effect of it, and that the two papers are almost the same, but one is has more white and is more sketchy. Sorry about that. One of our neighbors was over visiting, and they were getting a little loud, so I stopped recording for a while. So right now I pull out a couple of these. I end up only using one of them. I had pulled some red ephemera, and I ended up not wanting to include it. It wasn't meshing as well, and instead I end up pulling out some green. Not sure if you see that on video when I make that change, but there are a couple of neat sentiments in here. So I really like the laser cuts, the 49&Mkt laser cuts. They're a really neat product. They feel really substantial. They're usually interesting. I like the variety of colors that you get. So if you haven't tried them, and sometimes they have these essential kits or things like that have a variety of stuff in a variety of colors, and I think that's pretty fun. So I'm going to take the branding strip off here, or from the top of it, and I'm going to try and make it work on the page, even though I know I have to cover up the hole in the middle. It ends up working, but it does drive a little bit where I put an embellishment cluster. So here I'm just thinking through things, where I want stuff. I don't like that stripe at the bottom like that at all. I'm going to come up with a better solution. Right now I'm thinking I'm going to put the title in that purple pink zone, but I was planning to use purple and pink alphas, purple alphas anyway, so I don't think that's going to work. Well, it would, but I end up moving things around. So I pull out the black little lace trim here and a few more items. This is where I'm pulling some green things. I still haven't put the red stuff away yet though. I pull this laser cuts out 3 or 4 times during this process. And I like the idea of putting that to the side better, but it doesn't feel substantial enough as it is. So I'm going to add a border strip. So I've gone off, I've figured out more ephemera that I want, and I pulled out one of the border strips from one of these papers, which is green and purple, that purple star paper, and the little black lace item. So I went off and I sort of stopped the video and got my head together about what all I wanted, because I was just struggling. It didn't feel like it was coming together for me. So I've cut a 2x3 out of the purple paper because I just wanted it somewhere else on the page. So now it's in 3 spots, or it will be. And then I cut another scrap that I had out to map photos with or something, and I ended up making another 2x3 little piece of paper, and I'm happier with that to fill in that grid. And it gives me a little bit of a journaling spot, and this rainbow has some gold glitter on it, so I figured that was an opportunity to bring in some more bling. And I'm just trying to figure out what all I want where. Switch those out because I think the pink shows up better on that side. So I'm still auditioning things. And this is where I pull out the Chamel purple Fitzgerald letters and realize that I need to scoot the photo up and put the title below it. And I think I move it a little bit lower. So right now that feels, I like the location of the photo, but it moves everything up the page. And in all honesty, even when I finished this page, I felt like perhaps I should have added some stamping, some black ink to it on top of the paper, and maybe that would have felt maybe more finished. But that's just not the first thing I go to. It's not my forte. I don't always feel comfortable. I would hate to risk ruining this gorgeous paper by messing it up. And so it's a little bit of a struggle for me. So the name of the place that we had this brunch is called Hamburger Mary's. I'm not sure if it's a chain or not, but they had in neon above the stage the phrase "Eat, Drink, and Be Merry." M-A-R-Y. So I thought that was a really fun title for this page. And because it was our first time, they called us all up on stage and did a toast. Of course, all the kids that I was with were underage, and so they got juice. They got a juice shot, but it was really fun. So I'm using the Fitzgerald letters for the eat, drink, and then I thought I'd just go multicolored for the word Mary. And that may be the first time I've used those letters. I love them. I love the colors. I could have gone one solid color, but I really liked the turquoise best, but I hadn't used turquoise elsewhere on the page, so I thought, well, that would be weird if I just pulled out a whole bunch of turquoise. So now I've got some little bits for sprinkling around, and I need to decide. So I'm going to focus on this right-hand side grid now, and this is way too high. I can tell you that. I'm going to have to move it down. I don't know what I was thinking, but I've got 3 rows of 2x3s that I need to fit in, so this is going to shift down. Thank goodness I use removable or repositionable adhesive. This is where I'm like, oh, that's too high. Silly me. How am I going to fit all those things? So I'm not trying to get it perfectly centered on the page because the rest of it's not exactly centered. So, you know, the left-hand side. So I'm just playing around with it. And then after I do this much, I had stuff sitting under me, under the work surface, and that was not working for me. So I liked the idea of putting that on top, and then it sort of is touching multiple photos. So you can see this is cheated a little bit to the top, which was my intention, since the other page is cheated to the top. I'm just trying to line them up. And now I'm adding some little pieces of ephemera, trying to figure out where I might be able to put things. So lots more ephemera at this point on the right-hand page, just because I have that grid, and so I'm just adding things to multiple pictures and stuff like that. And so now I'm just making another little cluster up there at the top. And this was the Chamel sticker book, and I figured there are probably a few things that I can use in there, including some gold hearts that is the same gold glitter that is on that little rainbow. And then a few other hearts I think I pulled. Oh, and some stars. Some gold glitter stars. So I sprinkle those around. And I do end up going back and black inking the whole thing. All the edges of the pages, but I do that at the end. And now I'm going to do some, I think I'm ready for sequins. Here I'm just thinking, do I want to add something else over there? Like I said, I was feeling like it was a little empty, and I think some stamping sticking out from under it would have been helpful. Maybe something round. I feel like it might have needed something round or more natural instead of all these square things, but that's okay. So what I ended up doing, I'm like, this bottom is too empty. So I had pulled out those gold stars. So now I'm going to take the star paper, the other paper that I used for the 2x3 card, and then I'm wondering what other paper, and I pull out a black glitter paper. And then I'm going to cut a few more of those small stars and add them, so there's a little more black on the page. And those 3 little stars down there just really helped me feel that that space was a little more complete. And I just do it as a little cluster down there. And then we're going to add a lot of sequins. And this is a Roy G. Biv sequin mix from Spiegelmom Scraps. So it had some colors that weren't included in this, but like a blue, like a bright, a dark blue, but the colors together look so good with these photos and this paper that I decided to use it instead of creating a specialized sequin mix from the sequins that I had. So I tried to keep them pretty close to how they fell, unless there was something that was egregiously annoying. So just sprinkled them and let them fall where they fell. And I really like that diagonal that this then creates from the left, farthest left-hand side down that page, the title, and then down to the corner. And then across, up, and back to the middle. So I'm pleased with the way it came out in the end. And I'll give you some close-ups here. So if you've made it this far, thank you for hanging with me in my Space to Craft. Please give this video a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe and press notify so that you get notified. I do try and post probably 5 or 6 times a week. Might be a little less when I'm traveling, and I try to do a variety. Sometimes it's a card, sometimes it's a scrapbook page like this, sometimes it's a haul, but you know, it's just my space to scrap and all the things that go on in there. So I appreciate you watching, and I look forward to seeing you back to my Space to Craft in the future.